Welcome, families. I would like to introduce Penny Williams again to you. She is going to teach us multi-digit operations, and I'm excited to see what she's got to show us. So take it away, Penny.
Okay. The other night we worked on all multi-digit operations, and this one, in addition, I kind of slighted, so I would like to go over it. I want to introduce you to the magic of the hundreds chart. Now, you might think for first and second graders to have these negative numbers up here is not a good idea, but on the other hand, they need to know from the very beginning that numbers do not start at 0. They go on forever in both directions. So this number starts with -9 and goes to 0. Now we do a little exploration on this so that they're familiar with the hundreds chart. Actually, I started that in kindergarten when I took a number line and cut it up and pasted it this way so they could see where the hundreds chart came from the number line. But we would count by tens, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. But we would count by tens from other numbers as well, because 4 plus 10 is 14, plus 10 is 24. So I would say, let's count by tens from 4, and they would go 4, 14, 24, 34, 44, 54. And using that, my first graders and second graders could add two-digit numbers in their head, two-digit numbers. I'll show you that in a minute. I want to show you this side of it, and they'll both be in the new folder that I have going to send out. But with just these numbers and another one that I've cut up so that they can fill it, fill it up and put these where they belong. They have an understanding of the layout of this number chart, and they have an understanding of base 10. So this is how my first and second graders would add two-digit numbers. If I had the number, if I wanted to do 32 plus 48, they could do it one way. They could start with a 32, or they could start with a 48. But most of my second graders would pick the number with the lowest ones, because they would have not so far to count. So they start with 48, right here, and they go down 10, 20, 30, 1, 2. And the answer is 80. Now my first and second graders could add two-digit numbers that way, and eventually this chart becomes a brain tattoo. You can see them when you look at them counting down by tens, counting over by ones. Some of them count over by ones first. If they started with 32 and they had to add 48, they would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then they'd go down 10, 20, 30, 40. Obviously, either way, they're going to be in the same place. But after they worked with this for a while and they had on their desks, they wanted something like this, totally blank. They knew immediately where numbers were to count down by tens and over by twos. And while I was doing this, I can't tell you how many elementary math teachers were, for the first time in their lives, able to add two-digit numbers by jumping down and going across in their head. So I wanted to make sure you had that addition strategy. And both this page and this page will be in your new folder. And then the one other thing I had all confused when I was showing you the subtraction assistance, those of you who saw it before. So the hardest part, students in high school have trouble with regrouping in subtraction, because it's regroup, subtract, regroup, subtract, regroup, oh yeah, and then there's the 0 thing thrown in there. So the very first thing you do when you look at a subtraction example is say, is it possible to take this from here? And you'll get yeses or nos, and you say, how do you know? Well, this has 370 million and this has 340 plus million, so yes, this can be taken from this. We know it will work without being in debt. So you're going to do all of the regrouping first, starting on the left and regrouping from the left. This works. All right, and this works, so we'll leave it alone. This does not work, so we will take one of these, which makes 10 of those, and I had 4 already, and so now I have 14. So does this still work? Yes, this works. This works. This does not, so I need to go here, take one of those, which will give me 10 of these. So now that I have 16 of those. Does this still work? It does. Does this work? It does. Does this work? It does not. So I'm going to take one of those, which will give me 10 of these, and since I didn't have any to begin with, I have 10 now. Having done that, this works. This does not work. Okay, so we'll take this down to 2. And I'm giving you the most complicated one I can give you because somehow that gives a better understanding. And this is 10. But when I say, does this still work? It does not. So I get some help here and make this 12. And how about this? This doesn't work. Get some help here. That brings 10 over to there for 14, and this works. Having done that, number 1, the students did all the regrouping first. Their brain can just concentrate on regrouping. And notice when I hit a 0, it was treated no differently than any other number. Absolutely no differently than any other number. Now I'm all set up. I can subtract from the right or I can subtract from the left. All this working from the left thing is confusing, working from the right, I mean, is because I'm confusing to students who are learning to read from left to right. But at this point, it doesn't matter whether you start subtracting here or you start subtracting here. And this is the form of regrouping multi-digit numbers and subtraction that I take into high schools for students who have trouble subtracting. And from here on, you ought to be able to pick up in the video from our last session where you go into assistance, multi-digit assistance for multiplication and division. Okay, thank you.